Hey, so you won't believe what happened at my school. My 8th grade teacher, Miss Lee, got super weird after a terrible thing happened. A 10-year-old girl named Amelia died in her arms during a school shooting at a nearby elementary school. 2 months later, Miss Lee became my history teacher and started acting strange. Oh, and our school counselor, Mrs. Sanders, was secretly using us for her school project about trauma. Crazy, right? So, after that awful shooting where 3 kids, including Amelia, didn't make it, Miss Lee was all about keeping us safe. She locked our classroom door even during lessons and memorized every parent's face. Whenever the intercom buzzed, she'd pause, like she was scared. At first, it seemed okay. But by spring, things got creepy. Instead of regular history lessons, Miss Lee made us play safety games. We had to hide in spots around the room super fast, and she timed us saying we had to beat her old class's record. My spot was this tiny coat closet that felt way too small, but she said it was the safest place. She'd say stuff like, "This closet saved someone once," with this faraway look in her eyes. Things got weirder when she started staring at my friend Isabella during these games. Isabella looked a lot like Amelia, with brown hair and freckles. Sometimes Miss Lee called her Amelia by mistake and looked confused. She'd count us and whisper, 22 new chances, like it meant something big. She kept talking about her old class, saying she should have been tougher on them when they laughed during drills. We tried to act like it was normal, but it wasn't. One day, she stopped class to show us her phone's lock screen a picture of her old class. She pointed out each kid's name, and when she got to Amelia, she started crying so hard she could barely talk. She made us memorize where Amelia sat and how she hid, saying, Amelia was quiet, but not quiet enough. It got worse. I could tell something bad was coming, but nothing could have prepared me for that Friday in May. Miss Lee was shaking, dropping her coffee, checking her phone, and whispering to Amelia's picture, "Next time, I'll be better." She made us practice hiding 6 times before 10 a.m., saying, "Today you show me you can survive. Prove you're better than my old class." That was scary. Then she did something against the rules. She unlocked the side door. She said this was our most important drill ever and put Isabella in a corner, just like in old photos. She warned us we had to be perfect or we'd end up like Amelia. At 10:15, loud bangs like gunshots rang out in the hallway, making my ears hurt. Miss Lee yelled, "Hide now. This is real." I dove into the coat closet with other kids squished against me, my heart pounding. Miss Lee pushed her desk against the door like she was super strong. The room went dark, and she hissed, "Stay quiet. The loud ones die first." We heard a man in the hallway yelling, "You will pay," and kids crying, trying to be quiet. Something wet was on the closet floor. Miss Lee grabbed Isabella, saying, "You're Amelia now," and dragged her to my closet. She made Isabella lie in a certain way, holding her hand like she was remembering something awful. She told Isabella, "Say you're scared, like Amelia did." Isabella was crying but said it, and Miss Lee cried too. Then she showed us a horrible picture on her phone of a girl covered in blood in a closet, saying, "This is what happens when you're not quiet enough." Finally, the principal came on the intercom saying it was safe, but Miss Lee laughed like a maniac, saying, "That's what they say before more shooters come." She made us stay hidden for 6 hours. Parents were outside begging, but she said they were fake. When police finally came in, she looked proud, saying, "I saved them all this time." She stared at Isabella with a creepy smile and said, "I saved you, Amelia." The police took her away as she cried and pressed her face to the patrol car window. You'd think that was the end, but nope. The police checked her phone and found something shocking that changed everything. At the police station, it was chilly even though it was May. My parents sat with me while Detective Martinez showed us Miss Lee's phone. I stayed longer because I was in the closet with Isabella. The video showed our classroom from a camera. Miss Lee hid near the ceiling. It showed her unlocking the side door at 10:14 a.m., sending a text, and 1 minute later, a shooter walked in. My stomach dropped when I saw it was Mr. Davidson, our janitor who gave us extra cookies. He wore a black hoodie and carried a fake gun that made loud noises. The video showed him shooting blanks in the hallway while Miss Lee scared us inside. My mom held my hand tight as we saw Mr. Davidson follow her texted plan. Go to the science wing, fire 3 shots, yell specific words, then hide. Detective Martinez said Mr. Davidson lost his daughter in a shooting 5 years ago. Miss Lee met him at a support group and convinced him this fake drill would help kids. They practiced when the school was empty and set up the camera together. There were texts, photos of them at coffee shops, and recordings of Miss Lee saying scaring us would save us someday. Mr. Davidson cried in one, saying he wanted to stop another tragedy like his daughter's. My dad asked if we could go, but the detective needed to know what Miss Lee did with Isabella in the closet. I told her how she made Isabella pretend to be Amelia, showed us that awful photo, and kept us hidden for 6 hours. The detective took notes and said I'd have to testify later. My parents looked worried. I just wanted to forget it all, but I knew I couldn't. Outside the station, other families were hugging and crying. Isabella's parents looked broken. She hadn't talked since it happened and needed therapy. Some kids wet themselves during those 6 hours. Others had panic attacks, all because 2 adults thought they were helping. At home, I couldn't eat. The fake gun sound kept ringing in my head. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Miss Lee forcing Isabella to be Amelia. My parents tried to help, but what could they say? My teacher scared us on purpose. The next day, reporters were all over our school. The principal canceled classes and promised counselors and new safety rules. Parents were mad, asking how Miss Lee got hired and why no one saw her acting weird or stopped Mr. Davidson. I stayed in my room, scrolling online. Everyone was talking about it. Some kids posted their stories. Others shared old photos of Miss Lee when she seemed normal. It was scary how she changed. Then my phone buzzed with a text from a strange number. It was a picture of me in the closet during the drill, taken by Miss Lee's camera. The message said, "You were so brave. Amelia would be proud." I showed my parents, and they called Detective Martinez, who said they'd trace it. I knew it wasn't Miss Lee or Mr. Davidson. They were locked up. So who sent it? I couldn't sleep that night. Every noise made me jump. My parents took turns checking on me, but it didn't help. The text meant someone else was involved. Someone who thought Miss Lee was right. The next day, Detective Martinez said the text came from Mrs. Sanders, our counselor. She'd been meeting with Miss Lee but never told anyone she was acting strange. Instead, she helped plan the drill. My parents were so mad. How many adults let us down? They found out more. Miss Lee and Mr. Davidson met at a support group run by Dr. Hoffman, a psychologist who thought scaring kids could stop shootings. Miss Lee's safety games were way scarier than regular drills. The story got huge. News channels talked about it, and parents everywhere wondered if their teachers were in similar groups. The video from Miss Lee's camera leaked online, and I became known as the kid who hid in Amelia's closet. Reporters kept calling until my parents changed our number. Strangers sent messages saying I was brave or dumb for not noticing sooner. Isabella's family moved to get away from it all. School stayed closed while they figured out what to do. Some parents took their kids out for good. Others wanted every teacher checked for mental health problems. The school felt creepy now, full of fake trauma on top of real pain. Detective Martinez came back with more questions. They found journals at Miss Lee's place with plans for scarier drills, like using fake blood next time. My parents talked about moving, but I didn't want to let Miss Lee win. She wanted to teach us fear, and running felt like giving up. Therapy helped a bit. Dr. Patel, who knew about school violence, explained how Miss Lee's sadness turned harmful, how Mr. Davidson's grief was used, and how Mrs. Sanders made it worse. The legal stuff took forever. Lawyers argued about whether Miss Lee meant to hurt us or not. Her lawyer said she was sick with PTSD, thinking she was saving us. Mr. Davidson admitted he was wrong, hoping for a lighter punishment. Mrs. Sanders said she didn't break any laws by not reporting Miss Lee. Meanwhile, we tried to heal. Some kids started a support group. Others avoided anything that reminded them of that day. I was somewhere in the middle, trying to move on but never forgetting. 3 months later, school reopened with new teachers. Miss Lee's classroom became storage, and they added metal detectors and cameras for parents to watch classes. I went back not because I felt safe, but because I didn't want fear to win. Some friends came back too, but others couldn't, and I got that. Everyone heals differently. The first day back was weird. New teachers smiled too much, security guards were everywhere, and parents stayed close. Our new history teacher, Mr. Williams, stuck to safe topics like ancient cities. When the intercom buzzed, half the class jumped. He acted like it was fine, but I saw his hands shake. Lunch was strange without Mr. Davidson's extra cookies. The new janitor kept his distance, which was probably good. We didn't trust adults easily anymore. After school, I stood outside Miss Lee's old classroom. The door was locked, windows covered. Sarah, from my English class, joined me. She'd been under a desk during the drill and heard Miss Lee's creepy whispers to Isabella. We didn't talk, just stood there, knowing that place changed us. My mom texted to check if I was ready to go. Normal mom stuff. But now, it felt different. Like she was scared any adult could turn bad. The investigation kept growing. Dr. Hoffman's group had chapters in 12 states, some doing drills like Miss Lee's. The FBI got involved to stop copycats. At home, we got new locks and a security system not for a specific reason, just because Miss Lee made us think danger could come from anywhere. The idea of being safe was gone, replaced by always being on guard, which wasn't healthy either. Some nights, I dreamed about warning Amelia where to hide. Other times, I saw Miss Lee as she used to be, just checking locks, not crazy yet. Isabella's family said she was getting better, starting to talk again, but wouldn't talk about that day. They were suing the school for letting Miss Lee work there. Other families joined them, wanting answers. The legal fights would take years, but I focused on moving forward. Each day got a little easier. I flinched less at loud noises. The closet in my mind started to feel less scary, but it was always there. I went back to school to prove I could, to show Miss Lee's fear didn't own me. It wasn't about feeling safe, it was about choosing to keep going. The car ride home felt long. I watched houses pass, knowing those families didn't understand what we went through. My mom kept checking on me in the mirror, gripping the wheel tightly. At home, my dad was on the phone, talking about security systems and homeschooling. My little brother Jake, who goes to a different school, was confused by all the tension. I went to my room and crashed on my bed. My phone kept buzzing with messages from classmates. Some wanted to talk about every detail, others acted like nothing happened. I ignored them and checked the news. There were videos of parents running to our school and police cars everywhere. Online, people argued about school, safety, and teacher mental health. None of them knew what it was like in that closet. My mom came in and sat on my bed, rubbing my back like when I was little. She said my Aunt Victoria, a kid therapist, was coming to stay with us. She was driving 3 hours to help us deal with everything. My parents thought she'd fix it all, but I wasn't sure I wanted her studying me at home. Jake asked if I wanted to play basketball like we usually do, but I couldn't. He looked sad, not understanding why I was different now. Dinner was quiet. We had pizza, but nobody was hungry. My dad kept checking his phone for updates from other parents. We're planning to demand answers from the school. Aunt Victoria arrived as we cleaned up, hugging me tight. She smelled like lavender and coffee. My parents looked relieved, like she'd solve everything. We sat in the living room, and I told the story again. Aunt Victoria listened and took notes. She said my feelings were normal and would get better with help. The next morning, she was making pancakes, acting like everything was fine. She'd been up early researching ways to help me feel safe. My parents kept me home from school for a week. Only 5 kids went back. Most were switching schools or waiting for changes. Aunt Victoria took me for a walk, saying fresh air would help. 2 blocks in, we ran into Mrs. Patterson, whose daughter Emily was in my class. She hugged me and said Emily hadn't left her room since the drill. Back home, I found Jake on my bed, reading news articles about what happened. His eyes were big, and he asked if it was as scary as people said. I couldn't explain it. Aunt Victoria set up an office in our guest room to talk to my classmates whose parents brought them over. I heard crying through the wall. Everyone was dealing with it differently, but we all felt heavy. Detective Martinez came to our house for another interview about the photo Miss Lee showed us. My parents and Aunt Victoria stayed with me. It was exhausting, going over every detail of those 6 hours. My parents argued quietly afterward. Dad wanted to sue the school, but Mom worried about putting me through court. Aunt Victoria said to focus on me getting better first. That night, Isabella's mom called. Isabella was asking about me, wondering if I blamed her. I said it wasn't her fault at all. I barely slept, dreaming of shrinking closets and loud noises. Aunt Victoria left a nightlight in my room and kept her door open. The next day, Sarah from English class came over with cookies. She looked tired, like me. We sat in my backyard and talked about what happened. Sarah said she'd heard Miss Lee on the phone before the drill, arguing about Friday being the perfect day. She also saw Miss Lee meeting a woman with short, dark hair in the school parking lot, arguing a lot. We checked the school website and found a photo of Mrs. Sanders. It was her. We told Aunt Victoria, who called my parents. They told Detective Martinez, who said she was already looking into Mrs. Sanders but didn't know about the parking lot meetings. She came to our house with another officer to take our statements. They showed us a timeline. Mrs. Sanders had been meeting Miss Lee for months. They'd let her go earlier because they didn't have enough proof, but this was new. Sarah's mom took her home, and Sarah mouthed, "Be careful," as they left. It felt like we'd found something big. That night, Aunt Victoria and I had hot chocolate on the porch. She told me about a time a patient attacked her and how it changed her view of safety. She got why I was so jumpy. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus, a classmate. He saw Mrs. Sanders at the grocery store, talking on her phone about me, saying to keep quiet. I showed my parents, and they called the detective again. Detective Martinez said they'd patrol our house more. Aunt Victoria made a safety plan, changing our routines, checking in, not being alone. It felt like Miss Lee's fear was spreading to us. The next morning, my dad was putting new locks on our doors. Jake watched, looking worried. Our family was different now, shaped by what happened. Aunt Victoria suggested visiting Isabella to help us both. We met at a quiet cafe. Isabella looked small, her mom holding her close. We hugged, and our moms gave us space. Isabella whispered about her nightmares, reliving being Amelia. She'd looked up Amelia's obituary and saw how much they looked alike. Miss Lee picked her on purpose. We talked about the closet and the photo. Isabella said Miss Lee whispered about a plan working during those 6 hours, but she was too scared to ask more. Isabella's mom got a call that made her go pale. Mrs. Sanders's car was seen outside their house that morning. A neighbor took a picture. We left the cafe fast, and Isabella's family went to stay with relatives. My mom called my dad, and Aunt Victoria drove us home a different way. At home, Detective Martinez was waiting. She said Mrs. Sanders knew where we all lived because she had our records. My dad was furious. Why was she free? Detective Martinez said they couldn't arrest her without more proof. That evening, Mr. Williams, our new teacher, called. He found emails hidden in Miss Lee's classroom between her and someone with a secret email address. They talked about scary drills and necessary trauma. My parents went to get copies. I stayed home with Aunt Victoria and Jake. Doors locked, curtains closed. Jake asked if we were in danger. I didn't know how to answer without scaring him. The emails sounded like Mrs. Sanders wrote them, encouraging Miss Lee's plans. Detective Martinez took them as evidence to check who sent them. If it was Mrs. Sanders, she'd be in big trouble. The next day, Mrs. Sanders showed up at our house. I saw her through the peephole, looking normal in her work clothes. My heart raced. Aunt Victoria called 911, while my mom kept me from windows. Mrs. Sanders knocked, saying she just wanted to talk, sounding so calm it was scary. Police came fast. Detective Martinez argued with her. Mrs. Sanders showed her school ID, saying she was checking on us after the drill. They couldn't arrest her without a warrant, so she left, but looked right at me through the window. That night, we barely slept. My parents took turns staying up. Aunt Victoria made coffee at 3 a.m. They talked about homeschooling or moving. The next morning, the police traced the emails to Mrs. Sanders's laptop. They found journals at her place about using us for her school project on trauma. They arrested her. She'd used Miss Lee's sadness to test her ideas, making us part of her experiment. Everyone was shocked. Parents trusted Mrs. Sanders with our feelings, but she betrayed us. Some kids said she'd hinted at facing fears through bad experiences, but no one believed them at first. Now we saw how deep it went. Aunt Victoria helped us understand how someone could misuse trust like that. Other kids got creepy messages like mine, all from burner phones Mrs. Sanders bought. She was watching how scared we were for her project. The legal stuff started. Mrs. Sanders was charged with hurting kids and planning the drill. Miss Lee's lawyer said she was tricked by Mrs. Sanders. It was messy trauma, tricks, and good intentions gone wrong. Our family tried to find a new normal. Aunt Victoria stayed longer, helping us cope. Jake asked why adults would hurt kids to protect them. His innocence got hurt. School opened with new rules and checks on teachers. Our class went from 22 to 15 kids. Empty desks reminded us of that day. I went back because running felt like losing. Walking in took all my courage. The hallways looked the same but felt heavy. Security guards were everywhere. Teachers watched us closely, scared they'd miss something. In Mr. Williams's class, we studied old history, far from our problems. But when we read about societies hurting kids for good reasons, it felt too close to home. Isabella came back the same day. We stuck together without talking about it. At lunch, we sat close, pretending to be normal. When the intercom buzzed, we flinched. The investigation found more. Dr. Hoffman's group was shut down, and other chapters were checked. Parents everywhere demanded answers. What started with one teacher spread to a whole network of bad ideas about scaring kids to prepare them. Some nights, I thought I heard someone outside. Our new motion lights lit up the yard for anything, even raccoons scared me. Aunt Victoria taught me tricks to calm down, like naming things I could see or touch. It helped, but I was still jumpy. Sarah and I got closer, bonded by finding out about Mrs. Sanders. Marcus joined our lunch table. We were the kids who survived together. Detective Martinez said Mrs. Sanders and Miss Lee would face trial. Mr. Davidson would testify about how they used his sadness. He was another victim, but some parents thought his punishment was too light. Our class had a fun day at a park, playing volleyball and eating pizza. For a bit, we were just kids again. My parents relaxed a little, and Jake played basketball again. Aunt Victoria was leaving but promised to visit. She said healing takes time and isn't always easy. Isabella wanted to speak at our support group and asked me to come. I said yes, we were stronger together. Summer came, and I was torn. I wanted school's routine but needed a break from those hallways. My parents sent me to a camp where no one knew what happened. On the first day, an emergency drill made my hands shake. A girl named Tori noticed and stayed close without asking questions. Detective Martinez said Mrs. Saunders might get a lighter sentence for telling about Dr. Hoffman's group. My dad was mad. Jake started having nightmares, asking if bad people would come to his school. He got a therapist to at camp. I made friends with kids who didn't know my story. Tori became close, but I saw her Googling me once. She didn't ask about it. Isabella's family came back because they couldn't move. We met at the cafe again. Isabella was writing about what happened to separate herself from Amelia. She said she'd been getting creepy hang-up calls with breathing. I started getting them, too, from payphone. Detective Martinez thought it was someone from Dr. Hoffman's group, mad about the investigation. One day, I thought I saw Mrs. Sanders's car, but it wasn't her. She was in jail. The fear she caused stuck with me. Sarah got into a private school, but someone sent them news clippings saying she was troubled. Marcus lost his math class spot because someone said he was distracted. Emily's piano teacher got a letter saying she was unstable. Someone was trying to ruin our futures. Detective Martinez couldn't find who did it. The letters and calls came from different places, leaving no traces. My parents thought about hiring a private investigator, but it was too expensive with all our therapy and security costs. At camp, I drew closets in art class until a counselor suggested drawing open doors. Tori invited me to her birthday party, but I panicked at the idea of hide-and-seek and left early. Isabella's family stayed in town when her dad's job transfer didn't work. She looked sad at our support group. We talked about the harassment. Dr. Patel thought someone felt threatened by us getting better. At night, I felt watched. My dad found me checking locks at 2 a.m. He made hot chocolate, and we stayed up together. Mr. Williams found a USB drive under Miss Lee's desk with videos of our drills, showing her getting worse. Mrs. Sanders was in them, telling her where to put cameras and kids, talking about using us for her project. Detective Martinez used it to cancel Mrs. Sanders's deal. She faced big charges now. The harassment stopped after that. Her supporters got scared. I still felt jumpy though. I chose to stay at our school for 9th grade. Running felt like letting them win. Sarah, Marcus, and Isabella stayed. We promised to face it together. Aunt Victoria visited, saying I was doing better, but would have tough days. Jake practiced basketball where I could see him. Our family adjusted to feel safer without saying we were scared. Mr. Davidson sent me a letter from prison, saying sorry and explaining his grief. I kept it but couldn't reply. The night before school, I couldn't sleep, worrying about other teachers or Mrs. Sanders's friends. My mom made my favorite breakfast, but I wasn't hungry. She drove me early, and we watched other families arrive. Some nervous, like us. School felt different, tree painted but heavy. Our new teacher was overly cheerful, careful not to upset us. Isabella and I stayed close. When the intercom buzzed, we jumped. Dr. Patel was our new counselor, which helped. At lunch, new kids joined us, wanting to understand. An emergency drill made me panic, but I got through it. After school, my mom was right where she said she'd be. We didn't talk much, just happy I made it through. Isabella called she'd cried at lunch, but was proud we survived. Detective Martinez prepared us for court. Mrs. Sanders's lawyer would say we were too traumatized to trust, but we practiced staying calm. My parents got a lawyer to help me in court. Mrs. Sanders looked normal, which was creepy. I testified about the drill, the photo, and the terror. Her lawyer tried to say I was confused, but the videos proved everything. The jury found her guilty after 3 days. She looked shocked, like she didn't expect to lose. Miss Lee's trial showed she was both a victim and willing. She got treatment. Mr. Davidson's testimony helped, but some thought his sentence was too short. The town was split. We tried to trust adults again. Dr. Patel started a program where we helped younger kids with anxiety. It felt good to use our pain to help. By October, my nightmares slowed. I could do drills without freaking out. The closet in my mind felt open. Isabella started dating someone who didn't know her story. Sarah and Marcus got into their dream programs. We were taking back our lives. The 1-year mark was tough. The school wanted a big memorial, but we chose a small park gathering with our class and families. We ate and played, feeling normal for a bit. Healing happened quietly. Sophomore year, the incident became just part of our story. New kids knew something happened but didn't know details. Jake got more confident, but still checked on me. The family accepted that safety wasn't certain. Spring brought college letters. Isabella chose art school, Sarah journalism, and I picked psychology to understand people like Mrs. Sanders. Graduation, Dr. Patel spoke about resilience, and it hit hard. My family was there, proud. I thought of Amelia, hoping she'd be glad we survived. Summer before college was exciting. I got into my top school, not too far from home. Isabella and I made art about our story. Her paintings showed closets turning into gardens, and I wrote about safety versus fear. The night before college, I stood in my room. The motion lights were still there, but I didn't check them as much. My parents helped me move in, trying not to cry. My roommate was nice and didn't push when I told a short version of my story. College was busy. Psychology classes helped me understand what happened. The first drill scared me, but I got through it. My roommate didn't say anything. I joined a counseling group, using my experience to help others. Isabella visited, showing her art about healing. Sarah wrote about protecting kids. Marcus loved maths certainty. At Thanksgiving, we reunited at Sarah's house, stronger but connected. Jake wrote a college essay about growing up with our trauma, and it made me cry. The trial anniversaries passed easier. I got an A on a paper about betrayal, feeling like I'd won something. Jake got into a school far away, and my parents let him go. Freshman year ended, and I went home, not running from or to anything. Going home, I worked at a camp, helping kids through drills like Tori helped me. Before sophomore year, our support group ended. Dr. Patel said we'd graduated. I wrote back to Mr. Davidson, not forgiving, but understanding. My parents were calmer. Our house, a home again. I moved into an apartment with friends who knew my story but didn't judge. I hung Isabella's painting, a reminder of how far I'd come. That night, on my balcony, I watched the sunset. Tomorrow had challenges, but tonight, I was just a college kid. My friends sent normal college updates. We'd made it. I didn't check locks anymore. Mrs. Sanders and Miss Lee faded from my daily thoughts. I thought of the scared girl in the closet and wanted to tell her she'd be okay, better than okay. The stars came out, and I knew Amelia's family was healing too. Our stories crossed in pain but led to hope. That felt right for her memory. My roommate called me for movie night. I joined them. No checking doors, just living a normal life. Finally, beautifully normal. Thanks for listening to my wild story. It's been a ride sharing it with you. The sister said she was family and demanded to see Sophie. Nurses were confused, stuck between family drama and rules. Sophie's mom tried to kick us out, but the sister stood firm, saying she suspected neglect. The head nurse called the doctor. While Sophie's mom argued, I got close to Sophie's bed. Her eyes were open, watching the mess. I touched her hand, and she squeezed back weakly. The doctor came, and Sophie's mom said Sophie had an eating disorder, calling her sister jealous, and me an obsessed teacher. But then Sophie spoke, so quiet everyone froze. She said she was hungry, had been for so long, because her mom wouldn't let her eat for photos. She begged someone to check her sister. The doctor's face got serious. He asked Sophie to say it again. She talked about modeling, diets, and punishments for gaining weight. Her mom tried to say Sophie was confused, but the staff had heard enough. The doctor ordered tests and called a social worker. The sister gave them my proof photos, showing Sophie getting thinner, her recorded story, notes on modeling schedules. Security took Sophie's mom out while they investigated. She screamed threats, but her power was gone. The social worker looked at our proof while doctors helped Sophie. She called the police, who found Sophie's sister locked in her room, too weak to stand. She was rushed to the hospital, also starved and dehydrated. Her mom's phone had photos showing her getting worse. I stayed at the hospital while the sister handled legal stuff. Sophie got better slowly, needing careful feeding. Her sister was worse, starved from a younger age. The investigation found Sophie's mom gave both girls drugs to stop hunger and locked them in rooms without food before shoots. The modeling money was her addiction, needing the girls thinner for each job. Other models, young girls, told similar stories about their parents. Sophie's words opened a door that couldn't close. I visited every day, bringing small gifts and reading stories, just being there. Sophie's recovery was slow. She'd been taught food was bad and her worth was her looks. Her sister didn't know what normal life was. She hid food, scared it'd be taken. The therapist said it'd take years to fix the damage. The sister got temporary custody while the legal stuff went on. She moved the girls to her small house, making it a safe place with regular meals and love. I helped tutor Sophie to catch up on school. The school board dropped their case against me when the truth came out. The principal quit because he ignored the abuse. Parents who liked Sophie's mom acted like they never knew. I didn't care about being right, just about Sophie and her sister getting better, laughing, and having color in their cheeks. Sophie's mom faced criminal charges, and her modeling world fell apart as more kids spoke up. Photographers and agencies got investigated too. Sophie was strong, testifying when needed and facing her mom in supervised visits. She started eating regular meals, though some days were tough. Her sister's recovery was harder, with no normal memories to go back to. Every meal was new, every pound a win. The therapist worked carefully to help her like food again. I started teaching at a new school, my reputation tricky, but my purpose stronger. I stayed close to Sophie and her sister, watching them grow. Their aunt was amazing, patient, and protective, going to every therapy session and court hearing. She sold her car to pay for special treatment, never complaining. The community helped once the truth was out, sending donations, meals, and tutoring. But healing wasn't easy. Sophie had days she couldn't eat, and her sister refused food sometimes, scared from old habits. The aunt called me during tough times, and we figured it out together. The investigation found Sophie's mom spent modeling money on herself, fancy clothes, cars, and cosmetic stuff. The girls were just tools for her lifestyle. Other modeling families got nervous. Some stopped their kids. Others said their cases were different. The industry got more attention. Sophie started a journal, writing about hunger so bad she dreamed of food, photo shoots where adults judged her body, and guilt over her sister's suffering. Her sister's progress was small, but begged. She asked 4 seconds at dinner, chose a doll over posing, and stopped checking her reflection for weight gain. Winter brought a custody hearing. Sophie's mom, out on bail, fought to keep her rights, saying she'd changed and the modeling was for the girls' futures. The courtroom was full of parents, social workers, and doctors. Sophie, now 13, testified. She looked healthier but fragile, talking about hunger, punishments, and fear. She told how her sister cried from stomach pain, begging for a cracker. Her mom's lawyers said Sophie was confused or had an eating disorder, and their wealth meant good care. But Sophie stayed strong, giving exact dates of being locked up without food and talking about drugs and her vitamins. Medical proof showed both girls had long-term starvation, damaged weak bones, and growth problems tied to modeling schedules. The judge gave permanent custody to the aunt, with supervised visits only if the girls wanted. Sophie's mom lost her rights until her criminal trial. Everyone sighed with relief outside. Sophie hugged her aunt, then me, whispering she felt free. Her sister joined, not fully getting it but feeling the moment. We stood in the cold, a new family made through pain and victory. The criminal trial was later, but the girls were safe. They faced years of therapy and medical checks, learning to trust. But they had each other, their aunt, and a community that stepped up. I went back to teaching with a new purpose. Every kid in my class would be seen. I'd watch for signs like Sophie's to protect others. Her bravery changed not just her life, but others too. The modeling world got new rules, medical checks, proof of food, and fewer work hours. It wasn't perfect, but it started because of Sophie. She went back to school the next fall, not in my class, but in the same building. She walked proudly, no longer hiding in fancy clothes. Her grades got better with good food. Her sister started first grade, a normal kid playing at recess and eating lunch without fear. Teachers knew her story and watched closely, but let her be a kid. The aunt balanced work and raising them with grace. She learned to cook meals that didn't scare the girls and went to every school event. I visited often, helping with homework and sharing meals. Sophie sometimes talked about the past, other times just acted like a normal teen, complaining about math or loving books. Her sister's bad memories faded with new ones. She loved drawing, showing feelings she couldn't say. One night, helping Sophie with a project, she asked why I fought so hard. I told her about my own starvation and recovery, how seeing her brought back memories, but gave me purpose. She hugged me, saying I saved her life. I said she saved herself by speaking IP, just didn't look away. Her project was about heroes, focusing on her aunt but also everyday people like teachers and neighbors who notice kids in need. Spring came, and Sophie joined the track team, running for fun, not punishment. Her sister took dance classes, moving for joy, not photos. Their laughter filled the aunt's house better than any modeling deal. Sophie's mom got convicted on many charges and went to prison for years. Other parents and modeling people faced trouble too. The agency shut down, its reputation ruined, but in the aunt's house, that didn't matter. What mattered were family dinners where everyone ate, bedtime stories without weight checks, and school days about learning, not hunger. Sophie graduated middle school with honors, her speech about strength without mentioning her pain. Her sister cheered loudly, understanding what Sophie did for them. The aunt cried happy tears, proud of their journey. I kept teaching, carrying Sophie's story. The aunt selling her car for therapy made me wonder how she managed costs, but she did it with love, no insurance mentioned. Every new school year brought kids I watched closely for signs others missed. The breakfast club I started for Sophie became a real program, feeding any hungry kid, no questions asked. The girls' recovery wasn't perfect, scars stayed, but they were living, eating without fear, gaining weight without panic, laughing freely. Each victory was huge. Sophie's empty desk was filled, but her impact stayed a reminder that one teacher, one brave kid, could change everything. The cycle was broken, and 2 girls were free. That made it all worth it. I watched Sophie's mom leave the hospital's office area, talking on her phone, waving her arms while Sophie was alone in her room. The sister and I took turns watching, and it was my shift. For 3 days, Sophie got a bit better while her mom acted caring for nurses, but went back to her phone when they left. I wrote down every move she made. On the 4th morning, Sophie's mom showed up with 2 men in suits. I recognized one as a modeling photographer. They spread papers on Sophie's food tray table. I texted the sister, who got there in 20 minutes, storming past security. Their fight got loud, drawing nurses. I watched through the window as the sister grabbed some papers. She met me in the parking lot, shaking mad. The papers were contracts for new shoots, planned right after Sophie left the hospital. Her mom was using Sophie's skinny look for high fashion. We planned that afternoon. The sister called every family member she could, but most wouldn't help. Sophie's grandma, who hadn't seen them in years over modeling fights, agreed to come from across the country. She got there the next morning, a strong lady with a cane. Her arrival caused a big scene. Sophie's mom tried to kick her out, but Grandma demanded to see both girls, threatening police if stopped. It took hours, with hospital staff stuck in the middle. Sophie watched it all from her bed, taking it in. When Grandma got to her room, she touched Sophie's thin bones, crying. She turned to Sophie's mom with a fierce look. Grandma had proof to photos of the girls at events, showing them getting thinner with modeling jobs. Sophie's mom said Grandma was jealous, trying to ruin their careers, but Grandma had emails from worried family going back years. The hospital social worker called a meeting with everyone, me, the sister, grandma, Sophie's mom. The room felt heavy. The social worker went through our proof, medical reports of starvation, shoot contracts, my notes, grandma's photos, the sister's story about family fights. Sophie's mom got madder, saying we were all against her, ruining her family. She fired her lawyer in the meeting, yelling about a conspiracy. Her perfect image broke with every outburst. The meeting went late, with hospital bosses joining, worried about trouble. Sophie stayed upstairs, too weak to join, but at the heart of it all, the social worker found Sophie's mom faked medical papers for modeling, using fake doctor signatures that made it a crime, so police came to take statements. Sophie's mom got quiet, maybe seeing she was trapped. Grandma asked for temporary custody, offering her small town 3 hours away. Far from modeling, the sister agreed to help. The social worker let Grandma take the girls while legal stuff was sorted, since Sophie was so sick. Sophie's mom argued, but no one listened after the proof. I visited Sophie before they left. She was awake, squeezing my hand, whispering thanks. I said this was just the start, and she'd have help. Her smile showed hope. Grandma arranged a medical van to take Sophie to her house. I packed Sophie's things, seeing her mom brought tiny clothes, still planning shoots. Social services got Sophie's sister from home, confused but happy, holding a stuffed animal. The sisters' reunion was sweet, their pain making them close. The drive to Grandma's town took them from everything they knew. I followed to make sure they got there safe. Her house was simple but warm, unlike their big mansion. Settling the girls was hard. Sophie needed nurse visits, and her sister hid food. Checking her reflection, Grandma stayed strong. I stayed a few days, helping make meal plans that wouldn't hurt their weak bodies. The local doctor knew their story and helped with recovery steps. Neighbors brought food and drove them to appointments. The community welcomed them without judgment. Sophie's mom kept trying to call, but legal rules stopped her. She sent letters through lawyers, mixing threats and begging. But Grandma burned them to protect the girls. School was next. The local school took both girls, giving Sophie part-time classes and extra help for her sister. I kept in touch, hearing about their slow progress. Sophie gained a little weight, and her sister learned to play without acting for cameras. Grandma sent photos of meals and bedtime stories, normal kid stuff. Sophie's mom faced charges, and her modeling world fell apart as more kids spoke up. 3 months later, I visited for Sophie's birthday. She looked healthier, not a skeleton anymore. Her sister ran around laughing. Grandma cried happy tears. The party was small but perfect, with local kids treating Sophie like a normal friend. She blew out candles, keeping her wishes secret. It felt like the best gift. Sophie showed me her journal, writing about rediscovering food, friends, and being a kid. She wanted to be a teacher like me. Her sister showed a drawing of their family grandma, Sophie, her, and me, holding hands under a sun, no cameras or scales. That night, Grandma talked about money struggles from medical bills, selling things to pay for care. I started a school, fund for donations to help the girls. Teachers, parents, and neighbors gave what they could. Modeling money didn't matter anymore. Sophie started regular school, catching up with hard work. Her sister loved kindergarten, learning without pressure. Her teacher gave extra care, knowing her past. The criminal trial needed Sophie's testimony, done by video, to avoid stress. She spoke strongly about her abuse. Her mom's conviction was a relief, keeping her away for years. Other modeling people got in trouble too, and the agency closed. Winter brought new challenges. Holidays the girls never had properly. Grandma made simple celebrations about love, not looks. The girls decorated cookies messily, happy, not perfect. Sophie sent me a Christmas card, her writing better, thanking me for noticing and fighting. It had a photo of them building a snowman with Grandma, all happy. Spring came, and Sophie joined the choir, finding her voice. Her sister played soccer for fun. Each step was a move toward normal. A year after Sophie's collapse, we celebrated their survival in Grandma's backyard with the sister, neighbors, and me, no photographers, just people who fought for them. Sophie thanked everyone, wise beyond her years, happy for progress. Her sister hugged her, knowing too much for a kid. Sophie gave me a letter for later, promising to watch for kids in need as a teacher. Her sister gave me a painting of a teacher, with kids reaching for knowledge and care. Grandma thanked me, saying noticing saved her granddaughters. I didn't deserve it. She did the hard work. Driving home, I thought about their journey. Two girls now had a shot at normal lives, not perfect, with scars, but free from starvation and shows. Food was good. Love wasn't about looks. My teaching felt stronger. Sophie's empty desk was a symbol her absence sparked action. The breakfast club kept feeding kids, no questions asked. Sophie's bravery changed teachers, parents, and laws, protecting kids better. In Grandma's house, daily wins mattered: meals without fear, homework without hunger, stories with peaceful sleep. Grandma sent photos of school plays, sports, and birthdays, normal kid moments once impossible. Sophie's journals showed struggles but also triumphs, choosing health and future. Her sister, now 11, was confident, loving art and sports, no modeling in sight. Grandma gave her later years to them, her love winning. I went to Sophie's middle school graduation, where she was valedictorian. Her speech was about strength, thanking teachers who see, communities who help, and grandmothers who step up. Her sister cheered, healthy and proud. Sophie hugged me, saying she got a teaching scholarship. Her sister won an art contest with a drawing of families supporting each other through storms to sunshine. At dinner, the girls laughed like normal teens, talking about school and dreams. Sophie wanted to help at-risk kids. Her sister wanted to be a nurse for sick kids. As I left, they stood together, healthy, with bright futures. Grandma watched, her mission done through love. Sophie's letter, opened later, said, "Thank you for seeing me when I was disappearing. Now, I'll help others be seen." It had a graduation photo to healthy sisters and grandma, all smiling with hard-earned joy.